Okay, Sean, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, coach, let's just start pretty generally. What did you like? What did you dislike? I think a lot of questions are maybe going to be asked about the final third. So what did you see out of the attack, or maybe not see that you feel like you can work on?
Yeah, well, I think I'd like to back up and just express how proud I am of that performance today. I think every game has to be taken into context, and again, there was probably six different players that we did not know who was going to start on Thursday, and so we had literally a day prep going into this game, and so I think just starting with that alone, it was a fantastic performance, especially being on the road against last year's Western Conference champs. Again, I couldn't be more proud of the effort. You know, the three guys that got their debuts, their starting debuts, and Aiden and Luca and Zach. Again, wonderful performances, full of grit, full of fight, and there was some really good quality in and amongst that. And so I think we can get to all the particulars, but again, I don't think this is what this game was about. I think this game was about mentality, about going on the road with five or six players that didn't know they were playing on Thursday, but stepping up today and performing extremely, extremely well. In the final third, you're always again that piece is going to be the trickiest piece. I think we had probably three really good opportunities to capitalize, and then it just comes down to decisions. I think there's one where Ari broke away in the first half, had Aiden and Zach both in the middle of the field, and decided to go at it alone. Right. Second half. We had a good transition where it was a 2v, 3v2, or 2v1 with Serge and Ari and Goza overlapping, and you'd like to see that finished off. And so I think when you go on the road, you're not gonna get a lot of clear chances. And then obviously the one that was called offsides, which to me was a hairline call. It could have gone either way. And so there's three good opportunities to find yourself into the match, and then it just comes down to decisions. But that for me is real secondary. The primary is the context of this performance, given what the hardships that we went through this week, not knowing who was going to be available for this game on Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on it because defensively, it seems like the guys kind of kept their shape really well. It seems like they played in the way that you guys have wanted to play through preseason, that kind of thing. Does any of that kind of go on the newcomers, especially when you're talking about two guys in particular, in Aiden and Luca, that were playing almost entirely Monarchs minutes, entirely, I guess, in Luca's case, Monarchs minutes just a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's one of the things we pride ourselves in is, with this, we have a wonderful staff that goes above and beyond, making sure that the guys have really clear understanding as to what's being asked. And then it's really, I think both Aiden and Luca, they have a really high soccer acumen. They're really good thinkers of the game. They can interpret space really, really well. And so I think when you have the combination of that, I think it lends itself to these two guys starting for the first time in Major League Soccer away to Vancouver and performing the way they did. And so I think we're going to get a lot of information from every game, and again, I think from this game, the one thing is these guys have the heart of a lion, and you could say that about pretty much everyone's performance tonight. It was top. And again, I think to score goals, you're going to need to make the right decision at the right time with limited space. You know, and I think that's what we'll continue to work on. But overall, defensively, I thought we did a really good job, and we'll continue to improve on that aspect as well. Their goal came from, it looked like it deflected off Dre. The pivots were in great positions to be in the cutback zone, and it was a really good finish from AZ. And I think that's what this game, that was going to decide who won the game, is who can finish in really tight situations in a moment. Yeah.
And then just last one for me, and this may even be something that you don't really have an answer for necessarily. Uh, but when you with the guys that missed today, is there any reason to believe any of them could be out for an extended period of time, whether it's for visa procurement or injuries or whatever, or I mean, just any updates on any of
Yeah.
those guys?
I think it's day to day. Um, I think, when you're dealing with the type of injuries they have, um, some recover quicker than others. Um, so there's really no clarity on that front. I think from a visa situation, we should be getting Morgan back. We got Serge today, and hopefully we get Juan Sanabria next week as well. And then still waiting on Stein, and then Juan Arias is still in protocol to recover. So there will be hopefully there'll be some new faces, but again, I think um, we'll have to wait and see what that looks like with the other guys that are injured.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, coach.
Yep, absolutely, Sean.
Alex, Jake, Spence, anyone else? Let's stay in the room here. Maddie, Casey.
Hey, Pablo,
Hey.
you asked for bravery this week from your players and the mistakes to be proactive. And like you said, the goal was a deflection. I don't think you could really call it a mistake. How would you evaluate what you asked for versus what you got?
Yeah, I would say a 10 out of 10. And again, I think what is exceptional is you saw during the week that there's a little bit of nervousness and anxious energy within the group, given that we're going to have to make so many changes for the game, in particular some of the younger guys and Luca and Aiden. There's a bit of nerves yesterday in our pre-practice, and for them to really step up in this moment against this team. Again, they're a team that's experienced, national team players up and down their spine. Last year's Western Conference champs, and so what I wanted to do is make sure that we played from our best selves. We knew we were going to make mistakes. We knew they were going to get the run of the game at times, but really, and what I really liked is, when we were down a goal, the way the guys pushed and the way the guys, we're comfortable going man to man, and doing it against these guys, I think speaks volumes of the growth we've made defensively to be able to adjust our position from a more, from a block to really going man to man and being able to turn balls over. And now the next part is, can we be cleaner in transition? But those are things that first game of the season, a lot of variables. But as far as the bravery is concerned, it was a 10 out of 10.
I hate to specify one player, but the Vancouver guys around me were commenting on Hezarkhani specifically taking up a free kick in the first minute when they never seen him before.
Yeah.
What would you say to his and was it specifically as like their attitude coming in, fighting through those nerves?
Yeah, no, I think in that free kick, I think the guys were thinking about chipping it back post, and I was screaming from the sidelines, let Aiden take it, again. So like, I think we believe in the players that we have. We know that there's a long journey for them to be where they want to be in their careers, but I think it starts with one game at a time. And I think both Aiden in the first half, I thought was electric. He was finding the soft space behind their winger, and really causing a lot of havoc. And I think Luca motored around and did a great job, combining, keeping the ball moving, breaking up plays. And so again, I couldn't be more proud of these two young men.
Did you feel a momentum shift when that goal was called back, or when Luka took those studs to the shin that were the yellow somehow?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the game was, it was an interesting game because there's moments where there's a lot of transition, and what I explained to the guys, if this game becomes really transitional, it's going to favor Vancouver. If we can really control the ball and really control our block and how we're getting pressure on the ball, then it's our advantage. And I think the latter part of the game, obviously they secured the goal, and so now it's about us pushing, and against the team that's really mobile. Their movements are really good, and so I think the game had the tide, the field tilt changed, I think, a couple times during the first half, a couple times in the second half. But just looking at the way the guys really approached the game, I think there's a lot of good things to build upon.
And thank you. Last one on that topic. how do you feel a performance like that builds belief in the locker room, not just in the new system, but what the coaching staff is telling them and
Yeah.
what they can do?
No, I think it speaks volumes. Again, I think that when you come to a place like this, with the team that they have and what their last year really precedes them in what Western Conference champs, getting all the way to the final. I think that's a big thing that oftentimes people don't understand how how it affects players, especially young players. And so I think again, for me, the foundational piece that can't ever change is the fight, is the bravery to express yourself, is the commitment for the team. Those three things can never waver. And now when you add the other players that have a little bit more experience and have been in the game for a while, that should be the foundation. And then those guys bring their own identity to the team. And so I think this is a wonderful again, performance in context. Obviously we want to win every game. But I think given the circumstances, this was a great game to build upon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Zach Weiser from AFTN. Schedule makers weren't super kind to you having to come to play the Western Conference champions at a place like BC Place. Yeah, I just wonder if you could talk about like how was just facing Vancouver under Jesper Sorensen for the second year, and how he's kind of approaching things and how they're trying to maintain that high level and kind of carry on what they did last year.
Yeah, no, I think their team is, like I said earlier, they're a real experienced bunch. And I think when you have experience and you have guys like, Brian White that scored a ton of goals, you have Mueller who's scored a ton of goals and assisted a ton of goals at the highest level of the game for many years. You got Sebastian Berhalter, you got Kubas. We were talking about national team players. You got Blackman. They're just a really, really experienced quality team. And then coming up here was never going to be easy. And that's why I'm so proud of this performance, because I understand what it is to play against a team like that. It's not easy. And for the players to buy in, for the players to really, trust each other to play the game. And again, we didn't get everything right. But that will come with time. We had a couple teenagers on the field, three teenagers on the field. I mean, we had Gozo playing Mueller's position. We had Luka playing Kuba's position or Berhalter, and Aiden playing, it was, again, it's all about expectations. What are your expectations? Are we going to play Vancouver off the park in BC Place? No, that's not what was expected. However, did we compete the right way? Did we create an opportunity, 2 or 3, to score a goal? And we did that. Did we defend well against a really good team? We did that. And so I just feel like this is it's a good performance from our part. And obviously, Jesper's doing a really good job with that group, and they'll continue to be a force in the West.
One question about one individual player, DeAndre Yedlin. I know you have a bunch of injuries and a bunch of stuff going on, but seeing him in a right-sided center back in a back three, I know it's maybe not what he's done a lot of in his career. I just wonder if you speak to his qualities and how you saw him before up until he had to take them.
Yeah, no, I think, and again, this is more, we started preseason. We want to look at Gozo as a wing back. And I think having that wing back that's 1v1 dangerous is really important in the way we want to play. And so, we put Dre as a right side center back, a position that he's played in the past, not so frequently, but he played really well in the preseason games. His level of comfort, having played in this system in Cincinnati, really allows him to communicate really well with both Jake Glad on his left and Gozo or Dominic Marsuk on the right. And I think that's a big thing for our group at the moment, is having somebody that communicates well, has experience, can read plays. And DeAndre's done a really, really good job. And at times we want to release him. This game didn't really offer that opportunity much given Vancouver's shape. But I think he's done a wonderful job. And obviously at the end there, I think he started cramping up and got tight. So just being precautious with that.
Commiserations on the defeat, but yeah, all the best.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody else for Pablo? Okay, we'll try to get, DJ, go ahead.
Yeah, Pablo, could you just elaborate a little bit on Gozo? There was a lot of deep defending in the first half, maybe a chance for him use his speed in a counter, but with the new formation, with the new players, maybe decisions they made, could you just explain why we saw what we saw, I guess, with him, or didn't see what we used to see with him?
Right. No, you know what? I think again, I think if you would have seen our last preseason game, Gozo spent most of the game in the attacking half, and really created a lot of great goal scoring opportunities. And I think that's a part of this evolution for him, where there's going to be games. The toughest system to play against is when teams, and it's going to happen quite a bit. Teams are going to pin our wingbacks with wingers out wide, right? And so then there's got to be this transfer of positioning from our outside center backs to our wing back to be able to release to get pressure on the ball. And given that this is a relatively new position for Gozo, it's really that understanding of when do I release to get pressure on the outside back who's coming forward, and when do I hold my position because a 10 can do that same job. And I think in that doubt left Gozo in kind of in between and not really being able to affect the game defensively, which then forced him further back, which didn't allow him to express himself offensively. So we'll go back and we'll look at video. And again, I think the rotations they had asked a lot of questions. And so where it might have been it was a lot easier for Alex to read the cues, to step up and deal with that. Gozo, being it's a relatively new position, and we'll have to continue to sit with him and work this aspect of his game so that he can get higher up the field. Because again, in the previous games, when he was putting pressure on the ball, we were winning the ball, and now he's essentially a winger. And that's what we want more of.
Did you get any explanation on either of the two big calls, which didn't go to the full review, but clearly there was a delay while they looked at them, and neither one of them broke your way on the offside call and a potential red card? Did you get any explanation on what did or didn't happen?
No, again, just looking at that the offsides call on Alex, I think it was really, really close. And obviously, when there's no way, because we don't have the technology in this league to be able to confirm whether it was actually off, but the fact that they took so long to view it, I think in those cases, typically, the linesman keeps his flag down and lets the game go on. I think. But what's really difficult is to overturn a call like that because there's no lines and there's no technology to do it. So, and then the red card, they didn't explain anything to me as far as that was concerned.
All right. Thanks, Pablo.
Yep.
Sanjay?
Thanks, Trey. Paulo, just to follow up about Gozo's positioning, how do you think he's been doing with that adjustment? And obviously, after breaking out last year, after breaking through, he's looking to produce more in terms of goals and assists. Do you think that's going to be tougher for him in this position, or do you think it's going to take time to hit those milestones that he wants to hit as a young attacking player? Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. I think it's going to take some time. However, like I said, Gozo from that wingback position scored a goal in each of our last two preseason games. I think it's more opponent dependent as to why it was difficult. Their rotations were really good, right? Their outside back coming forward, but they also rotated a pivot out wide. So at times there was three players in that wide channel. And again, Aiden being the 10 on that side and Gozo playing in that position, you have two teenagers trying to figure out an evolved scheme by guys like Mueller and Berhalter. That's not easy, right? So it's going to take some time, but again, there has already been some really good understanding from Gozo given the last two games. Like I said, he's been really, really goal dangerous from that position. And today he had a good chance. He cut inside on his left foot, and he scored a goal like that against one of our preseason opponents from that same angle. I think, yeah. So I think that this setup today was very unique to the other previous two games, and I think it just takes a bit of time. But the expectation is that Gozo's not defending deep, but when we need him to, or they pin us, then he's got a job to do. So I think it's finding that balance, and I think when we're on top of the game, obviously he's going to be utilized more as a winger and not an outside back as he was at times pinned in the first half.
All right, let's wrap it up with Giles for Pablo here.
Hi, Pablo. I just have a question from your perspective as head coach. what does it say for the academy system that you can have 5 academy products out in your starting 11 and hold your own against last year's Western Conference champions and runners up?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The guys in the academy, guys like Jordan, and Phil have been doing a fantastic job with the guys, creating a really competitive environment, so that these guys can go from the academy to then the Monarchs, and Mark's done a great job with the Monarchs, to then bring them up to our group, and understand that it's not only about talent, but it's about mindset, and that becomes really, really important. I think that's the biggest jump, where you have a lot less time at this level, and things are not going to go your way often, but what's your response to it? And I think time and again today, both Aiden, and Luca in particular, did a great job of reacting the right way and getting back into it, and not hiding from the game. Oftentimes young players will make mistakes and they don't want to be culprits. But one of the things I keep stressing to these young guys is you're going to make mistakes, so just leave it for after the game. Get on to the next play. And so I think it speaks volumes. And again, I think from a club perspective, this is who we are as a club. I think one of the things, really, with Jay Christ coming in, is the alignment from the academy to the Monarchs to the first team has been really, really important. The dialogue, and then our constant, keeping tabs on all these guys that are doing a good job. Antonio Raquelme came with us in preseason and he did a great job. Juan Gio came up and had preseason with us in Portugal and did a great job. So there's a lot of young players in the queue. And I think the better these guys continue to do when they come up to the first team, I think it speaks volumes, and it adds belief. When they see their teammates from 2 years ago now starting a game with the first team, it's that I forget what the term is, but when you see it, you can really start to believe in it. And so my expectation is that these guys will continue to improve, and that we'll continue to bring young academy players into the fray, and they'll be able to hold their own given the system that we've created here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you, guys.
Sean Walker, you want to lead us off?
How many years of Zoom, Aiden? I still can't unmute myself. But thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Just your first start, and for a teenager, a guy who you spent most of your time with the Monarchs last year, just what did you think of kind of the moment and the vibes and being able to get in there with the first team from the 11 this time? Just how did you feel, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited building up to it, and I think ultimately preseason with the first team really got me prepared for this moment. And I felt good out there. The result was not ideal, but I think it was good for me, and I'm happy about it. So yeah.
You said obviously the result wasn't ideal, but did you feel was did it eventually kind of feel like it just sort of became football, like you could play a little bit instinctually? Because I know Paulo likes to talk to us a lot about not overthinking the game too much.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you eventually kind of got to that point with this level?
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, Pablo always like preaches that to us to just play free. All the tactics we work on is important, but if you can't be yourself on the field, things won't work out. And I feel like I got to that moment and I had a good few spells out in the game. So yeah, I'm happy about that as well.
Uh, Anything stand out to you? I mean, I know obviously the film's probably going to be the ultimate judge, right? But anything kind of stand out to you about something that you feel like, man, I really do need to get a little bit better to be ready for X on a consistent basis at this level?
Um, nothing particular, but I think in general, just like when things aren't going well, like right for us in the game tactically, like just being able to kind of change things on the field and be a little bit more proactive with that and just communicate to my teammates a bit better. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. And then last one from me, but if I could ask you about one of your fellow starting debutants, I guess we'll refer to it. Another academy guy in Luca. What did you think of the kid who I don't even think he's 18 yet? I think he's still barely 17.
Yeah.
What did you think of him kind of making his MLS debut and jumping up to this level?
Yeah, super happy for him. I think he fully deserved it after a strong preseason, and I thought he played really well. He played like himself is what we're all asking for as well. So we got to see the real Luke out there today, and he was class. So yeah.
Love it.
All right, Maddie Casey.
Hey, it felt from the fans like it was a really brave performance. Did it feel that way for you out there on the field?
Yeah, I feel like the whole team, we're like a family out there today. So I feel like we all had each other's backs, and like things didn't go our way, but I feel like we had still a strong performance, and it's something that we can build off of.
You specifically, not a shock to anybody who watched with the Monarchs last year, but there was some surprise around the press box when you stepped up for that free kick just in the first minute. You were already going. How much
Yeah.
of a discussion was that with your more, shall we say, experienced teammates?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that I like to be on free kicks. So like, even if it doesn't always go off, like I feel like, I always have a chance to score. So I'm just lucky that Alex let me get on that. Yeah.
How did you feel that the speed of play? It didn't look like the game was too fast for you, but how would you compare the speed of play to say playing for the Monarchs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's quicker, but I feel like once we had a few things go well for us in the start of the game and get a few things going, like it just felt like a regular game out there. So it was nice.
And then last one for me, I know you had your debuts for RSL last season. How does it feel this year, being in preseason, like you said, with the team, and specifically having Jamal on the sideline, who you know so well from last season?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that Jamal came up as well. Just to have him around. He was also an attacker, so it's someone that I can always like look up to and ask questions and learn from every day. So yeah, excited about that for the rest of the season.
Congrats on your first start.
Thank you.
Uh, bravery's been a word that I've heard that Pablo's been talking to you guys about a lot. How much of that, being brave on the pitch is also kind of putting aside some of the maybe distractions or things around you, like who you're playing against and like a
Mhm.
World Cup winner and playing at like a packed out BC place and just kind of, yeah, pushing that to the sidelines so that you can be brave out on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's kind of just like forgetting about like all the stuff around you and just focusing on yourself, and it's important. Like Pablo also helps us with that, just like playing free and just like playing what you see as well. So yeah, I think it's really important. And yeah.
In spite of the drop 3 points, for you, how can you build off this good performance from your side
Mhm.
as you kind of progress in making your breakthrough into this?
Yeah, I think it's like obviously we have to learn from the things we've done wrong, but I think it's also like seeing the glass half full and just like focusing on what we've done well and just building off that.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
DJ, Sanjay, anything for Aiden?
Sure. I'm curious, given this experience, let's say you do get the start next week, that's all to be determined. But if you did, what do you take from this and go forward? What do you know now that you didn't know before?
I think the main takeaway is the fact that I feel that I am ready for this level and I can help the team out. So it's just building off this performance and moving forward now.
Thank you.
Hi, hi, Aiden. Looking to break through and establish yourself with the team, could you just talk about what you and some of the other younger guys think about Gozo's rise last year and also how he's been helpful integrating you guys with the first team? Thank you. Yeah, I think Gozo is just like a really good example of like a strong player on the field and a good person, and he represents the club so well. So it's good to see like even last year when he had his great time with the first team and a good season, like it's just important for us to kind of like build off him as well and just like in a way look up to him. And any specific way he's helped you guys integrate, like on or off the field? Thanks. I think the main thing is like kind of getting us involved with all the players, like off the field, on the field, just like helping us to be more confident and just play like ourselves. So yeah. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We will
Thank
be
you,
back in
guys.
Harriman Tuesday. Thank you, Aiden. Thank you.